That time of the month. Time to look at what new outfits we have for our dear heroes. Today's feature, Resplendent Leif. Enjoy!
Let the lesson begin.
Hey guys, Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. Today's video covers the brand new, coming up Resplendent on Leif. Now, I feel like Leif is a bit of a forgotten character, but you know, he actually is worthy of talking about. So you can treat these videos as me giving my impressions on the Resplendent hero, seeing how they change, if those Resplendent stats matter, and just a general unit analysis as it is. Now, he is a 5-star exclusive, but if you include the Resplendent and actually pretty cheaply through the first line of codes, you can get a +1 fairly easily and get a lot of use out of a +1 like Leif, at least I feel like. Now, he's probably not as impactful as like Reinhardt or Elwood or Micaiah Resplendent for sure, or even Lilina to an extent, but there is definitely something very unique about Leif which we will go over in this video. I'll also look at which seasons are best fit for him, and if you're like +10, you can definitely use him really well. But yeah, we're going to admire Leif for a moment. I'm going to take a look at the art, then I'll give you some sample builds where I think he matches best, even if you have him at unmerged or +1. Even if you have Resplendent or not, actually it doesn't really matter with a unit like him. But yeah, we'll go over that. So Leif's outfit is basically Fjorm's outfit. Like, it's Niffle. It's Niffle based. it looks very feminine, but I guess that's just the nature of pulling off in an outfit like that. Don't kill me, guys, in the comments. All right, anyways, the outfit does actually look pretty good. I do dig it. Reminds me a little bit of Roy's, but that makes sense because they have very similar outfits in the Resplendent series, but there is some good detail here, and I do like it as an outfit. Yeah. I still feel the Fairy series is probably my favorite, but this one's not too bad. Alright, so if you're thinking about Leif himself and some sampled builds, well, that's a given. He does get 2 to all stats, which brings him to effectively 34-40 offensive stat spread with the Resplendent without any merges or anything, which is actually pretty good, I'd say, for 2021. But I think what is definitely unique about him is actually the 2 preference skills he has, which are obviously his preference Lightbrand and S-Drink, especially S-Drink, because anyone can pretty much carry a slaying weapon like Lightbrand, but Lightbrand does give you a little bit of extra damage if you meet a defense res comparison, and it gives Leif speed and defense, which he uses pretty well. Now, you'll see a lot of Galeforce kind of pushing here because that's ideally where I think you should use him. S-Drink is great because it gives special acceleration in the B slot. Combine that with C in Timespall's QP in the seal and Lightbrand itself, and you have effectively a self-sufficient 1-charge Galeforce. So he's going to have almost no problems activating that. This even works into units that have guard by using Flashing Blade, of course. But the thing is, as with all builds, it's always difficult to see what sort of fodder you might or might not have. So I'm going to go through a couple variations of that Galeforce build. Here we see 1-charge Galeforce with Timespall's QP, S-Drink, and Lightbrand, and Slaying, of course, being really nice for that. Then we have this version, which brings you to 2-charge, but lets you use a Swift Sparrow seal for a little bit more attack and speed. Remember, this is with no blessings, so obviously when you consider Peony, or Mila, or Air, or Regan, or Altina, or wherever you choose to use him, he's going to get more stats, which will help him meet those sort of checks. This one is one that uses Odd Tempest and potentially Even Tempest. I'm not for foddering, honestly, legendaries or mythic heroes, but I think that a Tempest is really good for an initiator who uses Galeforce like this. Like, if you're gonna do it, it would have to use Odd or Even Tempest. So if you're not using, let's say, Dimitri or Dagger in your core units, this guy will make a pretty solid candidate for it because he's very self-sufficient in Galeforce strategies, and being able to give him that mobility is great. And we'll talk later about how something like Pathfinder actually makes him super nice as well. Because he is an initiator, it's not like Air Force where you come in with Wings of Mercy. Usually that B slot with Wings of Mercy ends up being a little bit like needed for all the other Galeforce units, but Leif essentially needs his own initiation because he wants to use S-Drink in the B slot to give him that unique feel compared to other units. In this case, of course, we can use Flashing Blade Seal and Times Pulse and C. Still give yourself a really nice special acceleration with the combination of S-String, Times Pulse, and Light Brand, so essentially 2 charge, of course, and Swift Sparrow. Probably one of the few units who could probably use Swift Sparrow 3 and the A skill very well. I actually think this is probably one of his best in slots. And of course, Flashing Blade, every case is where he should be using Flashing Blade, because he actually has a decent speed stat for 2021. You'll probably use him with some sort of speed support, whether that's Plumeria, Peony, or Mila with Nurturing Breath, something like that. So this guy meets it, and of course Light Brand gives you that extra speed, which you should initiate on units with 100% HP. Finally, if you are one of the few who wants to use him as a carry, although this one is definitely, he's competing too hard here with other Red Sword infantries that I don't feel this is a place for him, but if you wanted to, and you have Lancina, Brave Lucina, then a Bonfire Mystic boost build with null follow-up should do just fine, because he has a great speed stat, so he should always be winning that null follow-up check. Most enemies that he initiates into will be 100, or initiate into him will be 100% HP, and the extra defense and speed complement the Bonfire null follow-up synergy there. But essentially, don't do this, I feel, unless you have like a +10 Leaf fully maxed out. Then his stat spread actually looks pretty good. The extra damage you get from Light Brand definitely helps in a lot of cases, and Mystic Boost keeps you topped off. So not a bad carry, but again, there's not many who's probably going to have this, so questionable. One thing that is very unique about Leif, actually, for the R-Dual Infantry 4 set is he scores as a 185. Essentially, he scores like a previous duo, like dual Ephraim, for example, or dual Hector, because he's using a bunch of 300 SP skills from the B, A, and C, so that brings him up to a higher level of scoring. So he's actually a great arena unit if you bring him to +10 or considering it. And if you have Resplendent and let's say the merge from codes, and maybe you just had some pity breakers at some point, or a 4-star special, which is either now or later if you pick that up, that's gonna like really, he's a good candidate for this for sure. I mean, scoring that high is still fairly unique. Unfortunately, it's still 5-star exclusive. So yeah, that is a good place for him. But let's actually talk about where I feel he lands. Like, which seasons should you use Leif in? Because despite him being great at like Galeforcing, I don't see him being too great for like, let's say, carrying, because again, no distant counter in the weapon here, and Galeforce with S-Drink, it's about as good as it gets, but you do miss out, unfortunately, competing with like null follow-up or null C disrupt or lull skills in the B. So does that special acceleration truly help? One thing I didn't show and didn't mention here is that he's a great Tempest Trials unit if you invest into him, because he has 100 HP at the beginning, or 99 at the beginning of every map. So that's pretty nice, but who cares, like, really? Yeah, so let's actually check out some matchups, yeah? Okay, so with legendaries, don't put him in water season. That is first and foremost. Don't put him there unless you need like that red unit and your other units can complement him. Okay, he's not going to be doing well in water season unless he needs to complement or diversify your team. That means like, okay, you're using Hannah, or maybe you have your own Crom or Dimitri. Then you just need like a red unit. Fine, Leif can go there, but if you're trying to depend on him to match, like have good matchups in water season, no chance. Not good against any of them. Unless he can player phase Legendary Leif, but because that's a melee versus range cap scenario, not likely that you can get that scenario. He's pretty good in win season as long as you enemy phase Corrin, and he can probably beat Elwood on both phases, so win season's okay for him. In Earth season, it's a matter of just player phasing most units except Seliph, so player phase Claude and Alm, you should be okay. Don't enemy phase those, and I feel he will miss the kill against Julia because his Light Brand check doesn't work. She has null, like dull everything, plus minus stats, and unfortunately Leif's attack stat isn't too great, so you'd be relying on some sort of like Galeforce proc to kill Julia, even on player phase. It would be really close. And finally, Seliph, just enemy phase him. I mean, he doesn't have him. He doesn't have a player phase. Finally, Fire Season, I feel he does pretty good in. It should be okay. Except Lilina, same idea between that and Legendary Leif. He's not really going to be able to player phase her, not easily at least. and he should have decent matchups against the rest. He can probably enemy phase Celica, take a single hit. Edelgard, he should be able to player phase, no problem, kill with a Galeforce, and Roy is just a clown, so there's not really much to consider there. So if you were to pick a place to put him, probably fire or wind, and he will help a lot there. But let's actually look about mythics, and this is where I feel if you use like a +1, that is going to be more important to talk about, like a unmerge +1, maybe a few merges Leif. Light season for sure, but why light season? Well, let's think about it. So Pathfinder is extremely good synergy with an initiator Galeforce like Leif. That's where he should be. You should be using him to initiate onto the enemy team with Galeforce, and then maybe follow up with other Wings of Mercy units if he takes some damage, but if not, that's okay. The fact that he has a 2 or 1 charge Galeforce self-sufficiently makes it amazing. If you're running him with Infantry Pulse and powering up other units to also engage, amazing. Pathfinder synergy with him is splendid, but also he does have synergy with Peony, who gives speed, ground orders from Gentle Dream, and likely can dance him if you smite in Peony. I feel his synergy with Dagger and color complementing the light mythics is great. He's a red in essentially the mythics that have just red, green, and have green, blue, but are missing red. Now, in Astra, I don't like him there because then he'd be competing with Regan, Plumeria, and Altina in a red slot, so you'd have too much red coverage, a bunch of melee units, so I don't feel he's going to be that great in Astra. On defense, he could potentially frontline, I guess, but I feel that's way too competitive, compared to other good Red Sword infantry options. Like, you're going to have potentially Ira who can do it better, or Seliph who can do it better. Yeah, I mean, even Mass Marth probably does it better. Like, I don't think I would put Leif on defense at all. He doesn't really have a spot there. But light season 100% and a little bit questionable on Astra right now. But we could maybe see an Astra Mythic that could change that, especially one with like Pathfinder. So yeah, that covers Leif. Honestly, a unique unit. S-Drink makes him special. Having special acceleration and a slaying weapon with some bonus effects. It's not a great weapon, but it does have some bonus to it. I would say that he's a decent, unique unit and definitely worthy of the Resplendent slot. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think of Resplendent Leif below. Are you still waiting to get a Resplendent outfit? Give the video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Sub to the channel if you haven't. That always helps out. Thank you guys for watching. You're all amazing people. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
It's over.